Hi everyone, so I'm doing this is a response to Jean-Paul Sartre's Nausea through a reading of Nietzsche's Antichrist. A hybrid of philosophy and fiction, Jean-Paul Sartre's first novel Nausea is recognized as the greatest work of existentialist fiction, for it focuses on the human experience of freedom and responsibility in a godless universe. Narrated from the perspective of the protagonist, Antoine, Nausea describes a nightmare world in which things are starkly revealed as slipping out of being captured by your own organizing categories, and in which contingent casual laws break down. Coming to realization that life is essentially meaningless, Antoine realizes his existence in the world is becoming increasingly unintelligible and inexplicable, resulting in a feeling said to be absurd or superfluous. Using the corporeality of nausea itself, Sartre utilizes a concept to explicate the connection between our physical existence in the world, with the void of simultaneously existing and not existing, with the realization that our lives do not possess an essence of meaning granted by an outside force, but rather meaning is something we must actively pursue and strive towards. The imminent realization of the boundlessness of radical freedom and anguish of existence manifest themselves in Antoine's repulsion of his own being. In other words, nausea arises at the realization that the divine outside of ourselves does not exist, but rather it exists within ourselves. If there is no God, nausea is symptomatic of the discovery of the absurd, or disenchantment of the world. In this way, nausea can take a positive turn, for the overwhelming abundance of freedom makes anything possible. The feeling of nausea becomes twofold. In one way, nausea can be debilitating once we realize our responsibility to be radically free, what Sartre terms to live in good faith, or our condemnation to be free. However, nausea can also be a productive and enabling, for it presents us with limitless possibilities for us to enact upon. In Antichrist, Friedrich Nietzsche proposes a similar solution. In this text, Nietzsche sharply criticizes not Christ himself, as the title might suggest, but rather the institution of Western Christianity, one that has perverted and coerced the life teachings of Jesus, which he generally agrees with. In other words, Nietzsche condemns the institutionalization of Christianity, which for him have killed God. Religion places a blindfold on reality, creating a comfortable illusion in which what Nietzsche considers the weak and passive revel in mediocrity. Rather than submitting to the obedience and moderation of the slave morality, Nietzsche encourages the will to power, where the roles are flipped from passive to active. Accepting the death of God presents the endless possibilities that are now available to us, without the restrictions imposed by religion. Once we accept God's death, the concepts of good and evil collapse, leaving power to be enforced within ourselves, rather than by an external force. For Nietzsche, the institution of religion has conjured the ideology of immorality of the soul, which he forcefully despises, for it neglects and cheapens our life on earth. According to Nietzsche, the teachings of Jesus embrace the joy of the senses, for he advocated a path to happiness on earth, and not a distinct fictitious world, as the gospel suggests. Once we embrace the negation of the heavenly and being the will to power here on earth, we will know radical freedom. The influence of Nietzsche is evident in Sartre's existentialist novel, for both meaning is not appointed unto beings by a higher power, but rather enforced by the individual. Thank you.